Right. Hi, welcome to Science Institute of Education. My name is Sam, and today I will be doing some IELTS speaking. I have had numerous messages from people across the globe in saying, that we are really confused about how to raise our band scores. So today I'm going to be making a very short video, making you understand how we can increase our band scores in IELTS speaking module, especially. Right. So let's begin. Now, in IELTS speaking, as you can see, there are three different parts. We all know that. Part one is introduction questions. Introduction questions are those in which the examiner is going to ask you about, your likes, dislikes, your hometown. There are various topics, right, that we all know about hometown, about your likes, dislikes, about your accommodation, your gifts and travel, reading and so many things, right? Those introduction questions. Now, I am preparing this video to make you understand in depth that what examiner really is looking for, right? Now, in introduction questions, there will be maximum two topics he will be asking you, right? Now, introduction questions are basically, you can say, just like a warm-up questions. Okay, warm-up questions, what I mean by that is that he's just judging your tenses, right? In tenses, whatever tense the examiner is asking you, you're supposed to give exam, like your answer into the same tense. For example, what are you doing nowadays? So which means this is a present tense question. What are you now doing nowadays? Majority of students I've heard, even I take speakings. So they say, well, I'm doing nothing. I have recently completed my, this. I have recently completed my education. This is something, that you have done. That's your past. It's not present, right? So we need to speak something in present tense. Now, for example, you can say, these days I'm just working on my English linguistics because I'm planning to settle abroad, right? Besides, I just help my parents in some domestic chores, right? So it's few things like that you can say. If you are really studying something, then you can simply say, I'm a currently student, I'm pursuing my master's in engineering or something, any, right? You can speak about your major, that what's your major, my major is computer science. I am in the third year, right, of my bachelor's. So something like that, that's the present tense question, okay? Like now, where are you from, right? So that's also present tense. I am from. Never say I belong, right? Because belong word is used for non-living thing, and you are human, right? So you can simply make a sentence, like I hail from, I am from. You can use an idiom. My neck of the woods is from, urban city, New Delhi, right? You can say that I'm an urban dweller of New Delhi, right, which is also known as the capital of India. Or simply you can say, I'm from New Delhi. I've been living here for the last these many years. How old are you? Right. So these kind of things can be said. No explanation in that. Like you can't just elaborate each and every question. For example, what is your name? And you'll be like, my name's Sam, right? Then you explain because my father named me, and earlier, my sister. You don't need to exaggerate each and every response. There are certain questions. Now, those certain questions, which means when the examiner will be starting, okay, so let's talk about your hometown. Right? Do you like to live in a hometown? They will be speaking very politely. So they are basically encouraging you to respond accordingly so that you can work on your intonation. But since we are so much, petrified that what our band scores will be, we are having some kind of nail biting situation, we having panic attacks that, oh my God, it's my IELTS speaking, what's going to happen? It's nothing. You just have to be confident. Don't worry. That's just what they are analyzing. Okay, they are very friendly, right? So you have to be like that. You just enjoy your speaking. Okay. Now here, like PowerPoint introduction questions, I was saying. So these are just your tenses. That's what they're judging. Now, for example, past question, right? So, did you like the same color when you were a child? Yes, absolutely. I mean, I was very fond of this red color from my childhood only. I remember even whenever my mother used to go for shopping to buy me some clothes, and I used to really ask her to buy me red color attires. Right. So that's now the obviously the explanation. Try avoiding a very common response all the time. You need to show variety. What I mean by that is, I really like listening music because it allows me to rejuvenate myself. I really like cooking because I pass my spare time with this activity. I would like to do this because like this thing is coming over and over again. You gotta, just bring some variety. Otherwise, as an examiner, you think of yourself, you will find that these things are crammed and you don't want to show that thing. Right? So we'll be learning some variety, how we can present those responses. Right. So introduction questions, nothing more than 2, 3 sentences. That would be all. You don't need to over exaggerate it because that's not a cue card. Right. Now the second part over here that carries more band scores in while speaking. Cue card. Now cue card is basically a topic that will be given to you. It will also have a tense, obviously. Right. So you have to speak. But the difference is here you need to change your tenses. That's your capability. You need to change your tenses, right? Normally, wherever you see your internet, it says PPF, past, present, future. Past, present, future, right? I just want you to somewhere introduce description. Why am I saying description? Because if you can closely look on your each and every cue card, there are some, questions over there. Those are known as bullet questions, which you need to cover. Like for example, the question comes, talk about a long car journey you went on. Where did you go? With whom did you go? Right? When did you go? And explain how did you feel. So that last question will always come in a different, font over there, which means that examiner wants you to emphasize on this particular question. So that is a description. Now, whenever we need to speak about description, we need to exhibit some kind of emotions over there. Now, the question says, explain how did you feel? Let me tell you how I exactly felt. Right? So when we are speaking about that last question, make sure you need to use this character. So let me just tell you how exactly I felt. And to be very honest, while I was driving, then we can say that, it was simply mesmerizing. Right? I can't just describe in words exactly, like what kind of stunning views I came across. Right? It was absolutely magnificent that I was forced to stop my vehicle and start taking photos. Right. So you are explaining your feelings. That every cue card, the last question, right, will definitely be in some kind of elaboration, description. And with that description, you need to use that diagram. Let me just tell you, it depends on question to question, right? It's not like it will be about feeling only, right? Topic. So remember, past, present, future. So what kind of linkers we can use here? Right, we'll be doing it, but I'm just telling a small insight because it's gonna be a short video. Past, you can say, I vividly remember, or if I may recall correctly, then you can speak. But obviously, if you're using this expression, if I may recall correctly, then use an interjection. You know, so if I may recall correctly, I think I was in 8th or 9th standard when my father first gifting my mobile phone, something like that. So anyhow, then like you are showing that you are thinking, but you're not sure. Right. But if you are really sure, I will remember, then obviously your intonation would change like that. I vividly remember I was in 8th standard when on my birthday, my father gifted me my first mobile phone and it had like a really great pixel camera in it. So when I started taking photos, I was really amazed from the picture quality. Right. So I vividly remember, if I may recall correctly, with that interjection, not too long, like, don't do like, no, right? if I may recall correctly, so obviously your eyes, your facial expressions, that will be showing to examiner that you're actually, confident and you're making your sentences by yourself, right? You can't just sit like a robot and answer, what is your name? My name's Sam Lakey. Where are you from? I'm from Pachela City. How long have you been living there? I'm residing here for the last 35 years, right? You can't do that. So have to have a passion, enjoy. So that, because see, you are going there to speak for 15, 20 minutes, but they are sitting there like taking many speakings in a day. So they come across variety of students. Some sounds very boring, some sounds really exciting. That's your job. So think about their perspective also. You got to make them, like smile or at least more interested, so they get really enthusiastic while listening to you. Okay, right. So this bit is about your cue card. There will be a topic. You will be given a minute to make some notes. You will be given some paper to write your notes on, right? And the topic, you need to, like, you don't need to write it. You can just think of what kind of words you can use inside, right? I'll be telling you shortly, right? Follow-up questions. The last, these are discussion-based questions. Discussion-based questions means that your opinion. So, first of all, you need to work on your opinion. I'll be giving you some today only. Opinion, vocabulary. You can't just all the time, from my perspective, according to me. Don't say according to me ever, okay? Because according to me is an authoritative expression. It means like a higher level person is telling to a lower level person, and you are their student, right? Not examiner. So, like from my perspective, use it, but I, just keep it away, to be very frank, because you don't listen to too many native people talking about, from my perspective and all the stuff. I mean, you can simply stick to, I guess, I think, in my impression. What I believe is, see, personally, I reckon, right? So these kind of things, because that's an informal speaking, right? You can use those. I'll be making the list. Now, obviously, opinion, it's just like in task two, discuss both views and give your opinion. So right here, that's the same thing is happening, right? Examiners sometimes, some topics would come where you'll be asked your idea, right? Do you think that if this thing happened, then it will lead to this? So over there, I think it can be very beneficial because we have crammed this line. We always do, right? We can give some beautiful expression over there. We can say, oh, well, I think that's a good idea. Then you can explain. See, the thing is, should this thing happen, then I guess like it will lead to some, like prominent results, right? Then you can further explain by giving some kind of example, right? Discussion, remember, opinion, you can't fulfill, you can't make anybody understand with your opinion unless and until you give some kind of example, right? I wouldn't say that everywhere you have to give, it just depends on the question, whatever the question demand is. Right. So follow-up questions this. Now here I told you 2, 3 sentences. This one obviously it will last you a minute and a half or two, depending on the examiner. They will stop you. You don't need to stop. And here 3 to 4 sentences because now we have included example. Okay. This discussion means, do you think? How do you feel? You know, do you really believe? These kind of questions will be starting from, right? As you can see in the book only, it's been written, follow-up questions. What are your thoughts about this thing? Well, I guess, so remember the expression which I gave you, I believe that's a brilliant idea. I believe that's a very good idea, right? These things can only be used when your question is giving you the idea, right? Do you think that if, do you think that if power, okay, let's say, do you think that if affluent, right? If affluent people help the poverty stricken, then the poverty can completely be eradicated from India. I believe that's a good idea. I mean, like affluent people in my nation, they are quite wealthy, and if they give out a little bit amount of money to each and everybody, and together with the collaboration of the government, I guess the destitute population would considerably be slow down, right? Or can be controlled. So anything like that you can speak, right? So part one, introduction questions, right? Something around 1 or 2 topics will be asked to you because this entire speaking is going to be for about 15, like 10 to 15 or maximum 20 minutes it would last, right? Part two question, your cue card. There will be a topic given to you in some tense. You have to speak like that. Make a short story, right? For 2 minutes at least. You need to speak for 2 minutes. You'll be given a minute to make some notes. Part 3, follow-up questions. Those are discussion based. Okay. Now let's begin with some insights. Today I'm only going to cover the not just the introduction or anything. It's just the journal thing. Right? I will definitely do 2-3 cue cards with you, but not today. I will be making another video so you can understand, like, what kind of artists we can use. Now, first and foremost, while giving responses, this is not only helpful for IELTS, but for also those people who are improving their communication skills, whether you're improving your English for interviews or anything like that, right? First and foremost rule, never repeat any question asked. Never. If we don't do in our own vernacular, then why would we doing? Right? Because it's just we find it very easy, but believe me, it's difficult, it's confusing. Right? Whether in IELTS or anywhere. For example, very simple, right? I'll be telling you, use. If we don't repeat any question, then how we can start our responses? Simple. Use leading phrases. Simple as that. Use leading phrases, right? Leading phrases which means the starters, and then you have your sentences. These ones are the leading phrases. What are those? Let's do it. I will write 2 sentences. You will see the difference. Which one sounds better to you? Leading phrases. So, let's begin. But like I said, in IELTS specifically over here, I would say, don't overuse anything, right? Now, first of all, leading phrase, we use well, right? Well can be used when you're certain about anything and can also be used when you're uncertain about anything. It just depends on what kind of intonation. Every leading phrase I'll be writing will be depending on what kind of tone you're using to speak. Okay? So, well, your second leading phrase, right? Well, then we can also do actually. Right? Then when we are definite, this actually is for uncertain. Remember. Right? Then we can have certainly. We can also say definitely. Right? We can also say absolutely. I'm not writing of course, right? Of course cannot be said in English, like not in English, I would say in IELTS specifically. Why? See, of course is sound, the way it sounds, it means that is this the question to ask? For example, do you like listening music? Of course. We can't say, isn't it like the other person will get, of course. Why? How stupid are you to ask me that question? Right? So we don't just say, you can say certainly, definitely, absolutely. Right? You can also use indeed. Right? Then obviously you have your yes, no. Remember, don't use yeah. Okay, in IELTS, I'm just saying, like normal English, definitely you can do. Okay, so these are just few leading phrases. Obviously, before then, now these are leading phrases. Before then, if you want, you can use interjections. Normal communication, definitely we can use interjections. Will means like, oh, right, as we did before, right, or you can say, right, right. Nah, this one is for no, right? Nah, right. We can use anything like that. So interjections plus obviously your leading phrases, and then your response will start. Let's make few examples like here. Okay. Question comes now. Do you like reading? Oh, yes, absolutely. Then we'll be using some phrases. Oh, yes, absolutely. Now, here, as you can see, do you like reading? Yes, I like reading because it is one of my favorite hobby. People always say, here I'll just write one of my favorite hobby. I don't understand why they say hobby. You're picking one of my favorite. So here it's not singular, it has to be plural because you're picking from many hobbies, right? It's one of my favorite hobbies, right? One of my friends, I was, like yesterday, one of my friends called me up, right? So we hung out together. Anyhow, so we are here. Do you like reading? Oh, yes, absolutely. Then, sorry, you can explain further. Like, oh, yes, absolutely. I enjoy reading novels in my spare time, right? As you can see, it sounds good. Obviously, I'm sure, I'm certain. It's not like something I have to remember. Mm, yes, sometimes. No, I'm not gonna do that. Obviously, I know whether it's yes or no. Right? If you have to say no, then do you like reading books? No, I'm not really fond of reading novels or anything. Right? Now, obviously, you read something. Come on, I mean, you read mobile phones and everything. It's not something you don't read it. Okay. But anyways, if you don't, it's fine. Like, no, I'm not really a big fan of reading novels and all. That's it. Novels and all, rather than and all, right? Novels and all. Okay. Now, question comes. Let's say, do you think that your country's education system is very good, right? Then obviously you're denying. I don't think so, right? Because do you think that's an idea based, right? Do you think that your country's education system is very good? I don't think so. Apparently, then you can explain, right? Why you don't think? Now, the question comes next. Okay, do you like to send and receive gifts? Well, right? Well, I reckon it's a beautiful gesture. And like others, I also like to send them, right? Also like to send as well as receive them, right? Like others. So, well, I started from well. Now, actually, where it's used when you're uncertain. How we can use actually? See, when you were a child, did you like to play any indoor games? No, I never did. I was more of an outer person. Actually, I never had that kind of passion to stay indoors and playing with my siblings, having Ludo and Carrom board. I used to find that very boring. I would rather go out in the fields, and play with football with my neighborhood friends. When I'm school, I was very much indulged into playing hockey. So these kind of things really made me fit as a fiddle, right? So as you can see, actually I used because I wasn't too much into indoors, right? So that sound also would change. Indeed, how? Like, do you like cooking? Yes, indeed. I spend around 3 4 hours on daily basis, learning something new from YouTube because I've, subscribed to numerous channels. I mean, I get a lot of information trying to prepare scrumptious dishes in order to impress my family and my friends, whosoever pops in at home. Right? Comes in at home. In spite of that, I'm just using pops in at home, right? So this is how you can make your sentences. As you can see, not even a single question was repeated. Okay, that's the best beauty of leading phrases. Before that, it's up to you. You want to use interjections or not, right? That's only up to you. I'm not saying leading phrases. Sometimes I would say that it's not 100% that you have to use them. Okay, it's also like as I've said, you need to show variety, right? Yes, no, you can also start from there. Okay. Now, these were the leading phrases. Now let's move on. Right. Now, uh, next thing we start with personal experience, like introduction of personal experience. How we can do that? how to introduce our personal experience. Okay, let's do that. First of all, you can say, like when they are asking you your opinion, right, and you're telling about your opinion, so how you can introduce that thing. You can say, well, in my experience, you can use that, like the leading phrase we used. In my experience, right, this is something you can use. Um, when you're talking about in the back, like past, this one time, right, that you can say, this one time, I vividly remember, or if you're an assumption, then you can simply use if I may recall correctly, right? This thing you can say, or well, what happened actually was, then you can speak like that. Well, what happened actually was. So these are just to add up your personal experience, right? Did you find, like, did you find anything like that or blah, blah, blah? You can say, well, in my experience, I never came across any kind of hurdles, while traveling. Right. It was just because it's one of my passions. So I have always enjoyed, right? You say, this one time I remember I came across this one really difficulty I had. And what happened was that my tire, like it got flat. I had a flat tire. And, on top of that, I didn't have any spare tire in my boot. So we really faced a couple of consequences. We had to wait for hours to wait for any of the other car to come in so we can ask for the help. Right. I will remember this one time we went over here. If I recall correctly, I have already made an example. Well, what happened actually was, so there, you're just sounding, you're varying your intonation also with this. Okay. This is about the introduction of personal experience. Right. Now, let's talk about your giving your opinion. I hope this one is clear to you. Next is introducing your opinion. So how we can do that? First one, I think, right? You can say, I think that India should really do this thing in order to get that thing. I reckon, right? I reckon, right? So this kind of things you can say rather than from my perspective, according to me, as I've said, don't use it, right? I think, I reckon, right? You can also say, I guess that would be a good idea, right? And I personally believe, I believe, for obvious reasons, right? Or, and in my view, I feel, well, he's not going to ask you more than that anyway. There will be only 4 or 5 questions. Right. So you can just make a circle. Try not to repeat just one thing only. That every time I think. Oh well, I think. Nah. Right. So just bring a variation. I think. Oh, I reckon that between. And besides, I personally believe. I reckon. Right. I believe. In my view, I feel. Right. Or apparently. Right. So you can use personally, I can for this reason, I believe, right? You can also say for this reason, I believe. So this is kind of a vocabulary that you can use, right? Okay. Right. Okay. About 2 to 50 students. Right. All right. So that's about your opinion. Now let's move on. Now this thing which I'm doing with you, right? It's very important. Remember, the questions are asked like that. Right? So how you can initiate without repeating the question? First is obviously, do you? When the question starts from, do you think or do you like or anything like that, do you? Just one variety I'm saying. It's not that this is only you have to use. I'm just trying to make you not repeat the question. After this, I'll be writing two sentences and you can see which one you like. Do you? You can start off like, yes, I do. If you're negative, no, I don't. Right? For example, do you like traveling to tourist places? Your response comes in, yes, I like to travel to tourist places because I like to see the beauty of Mother Nature. Now that's one response, right? As you can see, total repetition. How? Listen to the sound and feel. Do you like traveling to tourist places? Yes, I like to travel to tourist places because I like to see the beauty of Mother Nature. Right? As you can see, the repetition is sounding. Yes, I like to travel to tourist places because I like to see the beauty of Mother Nature. You have just made a complex sentence, but it's with repetition. In spite of this, right? If I can just write here underneath, I'll just write answer. Do you like traveling to tourist destinations? Right, so tourist places. Oh yes, I do. In fact, I love exploring, right? I love exploring places of interest. I love exploring places of interest that are offered by our Mother Nature. Right? Now, obviously, I would speak one more sentence over here, but just see the difference between these two responses. Now, let's do again. Do you like traveling to tourist places? Yes, I like to travel to tourist places because I like to see the beauty of Mother Nature. Now, same. Do you like traveling to tourist places? Oh, yes, I do. In fact, I love exploring places of interest that are offered by our Mother Nature. Right? So, as you get, oh, yes, I do. Then, in fact, right, I'm just giving a small pauses here. Oh, yes, I do. In fact, I love exploring places of interest that are offered by our Mother Nature. Right? Obviously, this sounds better than this one. Why? Because you're not repeating the question and you're showing the capability. Okay. I can also add up some other impressions also, like, oh, yes, I'm very fond of, right, traveling. I will be doing those expressions with you soon. Right. So I hope this one is clear. Do you? Yes, I do. Like, do you like cooking? No, I don't. Actually, I never had interest in terms of seeing myself standing in front of a dish getting prepared, right? And or chopping onions, which is a Herculean task for me, right? So this kind of response definitely can impress any person. I'm just not just saying the examiner. So start from do you? Yes, I do. No, I don't. Right? Have you? Right? So simple again. Yes, I have. No. I haven't. I haven't yet. Right? Have you experienced any kind of this thing? No, I haven't yet. Simple. I haven't experienced anything like that yet. No. Right? Simple. No, I haven't yet. Right? So which means no, I haven't yet. Finish. Then explain. See, the thing is, then you can explain by using some explanation linkers. I will be writing. Third, did you similarly? Did you like the same color when you were a child? Oh yes, I did. No, I didn't. Right? You can, when negative responses come, you can use expressions unfortunately, unfortunately, or I'm afraid. Now, in spite of writing, I am afraid, I'm just using I'm afraid because obviously contraction that would sound you using contraction. I am afraid, right? So, unfortunately, or I'm afraid, I never had any kind of this interest in this thing, right? So, do you like this thing? I'm afraid I don't, right? So, you can simply this is how you can just paraphrase also, you know. Now, do you, have you, did you, would you? Right? Yes, I would. No, I would. No, I wouldn't. Now, here, obviously, the response will vary. Now, would you like to change your name in future? No, absolutely not. Right? No. As you can see, no. I'm direct response. No, absolutely not. This is not, don't say note. Okay? No, absolutely not. That would be complete disrespect for my family because they named me. Right? So as you can see, would you over here? Would you like to travel to the? Would you travel to other country for higher education? Oh yes, by all means. Right? Would you like to? If you are really liking it, oh yes, by all means. I mean, if I get the opportunity, I would simply take it because that will allow me to. And you can explain, right? Oh, yes, by all means. If no, then no, absolutely not. Because you're sure. That's why absolutely I'm using, as we have done before, right? No, absolutely not. Okay, so these are few questions. There are other questions as well, that can come. Okay, do you, did you, would you, have you, are there, right? You can also be asked, are there, or are you, you know? Yes, I am. No, I'm not. Are there? Yes, there are. No, there aren't any. There aren't any rather than are not, right? There aren't any. Okay, so this is how you can just initiate your responses. Now, explanation linkers, as I've told you, how we can use those. Explanation linkers, how you can use. See, the thing is, right? You can also use this is because let me tell you in detail. Basically, right? You can also use that. Basically, see what happened was what am China say here is now here what I am trying to. Okay, this is what I have written. What am China say here is. How we can sound that is. Now, what I'm trying to say here is this. What I'm trying to say here is, right? What I'm trying to say here is, right? To be precise, or don't say to explain this, okay? Because that's a writing linker. Okay, so let's use them. Right? Do you like cooking? No, absolutely not. I just hate it. See, the thing is that I just can't see myself standing in front of like my gas oven and waiting for maybe half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, just the dish to get ready. I would rather simply order something from Swiggy or Zomato, and because these are not costly anyway, enjoy my food, right? Now, do you like to travel to tourist destinations? Oh, yes, absolutely. I mean, I just get a lot of information when I do travel. See, this is because when we go to other places, we get acquainted or we get abreast with what our Mother Nature has to offer and what kind of culture tradition we are looking at, right? Let me tell you in detail. So what happened? So tell me, when was it? When was the last time you traveled to tourist destination? Well, it was before this pandemic took place, right? I was in month of December. I went to Goa, right? Let me tell you in detail. So it was like 4-day trip, and me and my intimates, we just pitched in, all of us together. So we decided to go Goa. We booked in everything, having half board services in a hotel because we really wanted to enjoy the third meal while exploring the city, right? Then you can explain that. Basically, it was a lot of fun, right? We had a whale of a time, right? So whale of a time means you enjoy, right? See, what happened was, then what I'm trying to say here is, so this is how you can simply use your explanation linkers. Okay. Now, the last thing for today is likes, dislikes, expressions. This is just a variety. I'm again saying, it's not like permanently like this is what you have to say. When you're liking or disliking, it will vary. I'm very fond of, right? I'm really an avid. Here you put your, verb like or subject. I'm really an avid reader, right? I'm really an avid reader. I'm really keen reader. Avid means keen, right? Um, I'm really enthusiastic about or in. That depends on the sentence, whatever you're making. I'm really into, right? I'm really passionate about or in, right? I'm a die-hard fan of. I simply adore. Right. So you can use this. Now, obviously, with this, your response, first of all, right? And before that, some kind of interjection. Here interjection, here response, and then you this. For example, now, same question. Do you like traveling? Oh, yes, absolutely. I'm very fond of exploring different cities in my nation as well as in another countries, right? Then you can explain further. Right. Now, do you like to send? Have you ever sent? Or let's say, do you like to send expensive gifts to others? Yes. Right. Since I'm very fond of. You can say since I'm very fond of buying stuff. So I reckon that I have a very good knowledge about what kind of impressive gifts I can give to someone close to my heart. Right. I have had purchased many things from watches to other electronic gadgets and all. Right. So this is how, sorry, it's just a light fluctuation taking place. Right. So this is how you can use your likes, dislikes, topics. Right. And you can also use these expressions in your cue card, your follow-up questions, or anywhere, wherever you have to, talk about your likes and dislikes. Okay. So this is pretty much for today, right? I hope it's very clear to everyone how we can not repeat our questions, right? What kind of leading phrases we can use. Okay, then we did some expressions regarding your introducing of your personal experience. Then we also covered up with some, like likes and dislike expressions, what you can say. We did some explanation linkers so that you don't get stuck while forming your sentences. Okay, now this thing will be clear out. Next video that I'll be preparing is going to be about your cue cards. I'll be doing, like there are 73 cue cards in total, but I'm not going to be doing them all. I will be trying to make, one like 2 or 3 cue cards just to give you the insight how exactly you can think of the ideas. Try to have better ideas, not a common one. If we're talking about, talk about time you lost something important, you're speaking on mobile phone, don't do that, right? Because 99% students will be speaking. Okay, so these things just remember in your mind. Okay, just make it a note. Ask yourself what kind of things you're speaking on. There is also this topic. It's about talk about an interesting animal, right? Interesting animal is you can't speak about dog, right? Cat. I mean, they are animals, but come on, there are other animals also, right? So try to speak on them. Like anteater, you can pick, right? There are like these whales, right? So there are other animals. Just Google something. You need to research, right? Do a bit of research, and definitely you will come across something good. All right. I hope this lecture was really fruitful to you. Thank you so much for watching my video. If you like it, hit like. Thank you so much once again.